We see this in many other domains that eventually, even in quantum physics, we eventually reach to the consciousness. But somehow in academics, we have created this false dichotomy. So, how did this happen and why are we at this stage?
See, we have been witnessing what I would like to call it as monocultural dominance in our mind.
And because academics, there's so many structures which are seen as barriers, and there's a lot of risks that we perceive when we take up this journey. So, what would be your advice to them? And some PhD scholars also are here. So, what would you tell them?
No, I am not that great person to give you advice, but I must tell you that we should have open mind. Our current system is closing our minds.
That saying that we have created this false dichotomy in our minds between arts and sciences. And in academics also we see this. Are you liberal arts or are you science? Right? So STEM and humanities. So if you could retrace and tell us a bit about how have we come to this stage where, as you mentioned in the Upanishads, and you began with that, right? And we see this in many other domains that eventually, even in quantum physics, we eventually reach to the consciousness. But somehow in academics, we have created this false dichotomy. So, how did this happen, and why are we at this stage?
It's a long history, but thank you, Dr. Shobhit, for this opportunity to come here in your podcast and interacting with your faculty. Uh, I met him first time, and when I heard about Rishihood, I was interested more because I could see here an opportunity actually to decode the narratives which are running around and which are not in good interest of our people or humanity. And Swami Vivekananda inspired concept of Rishihood, this university carries. And although today in minority, I hope such universities will be in majority in Bharat. Coming to your question, see, we have been witnessing what I would like to call it as monocultural dominance in our mind. And primarily it was created during the colonial period, and we have been thrust in our mind that whatever comes from West is good. There are many good things in Western culture also. Every culture has their unique qualities. But just to tell us all the time that one who comes in suit, tie, boot is a knowledgeable who can speak in English. So connecting knowledge with language like English, I think that was not proper. And knowledge is all over. And the kind of knowledge legacy we have in our own culture, our own tradition, our own civilization is phenomenal. When Nalanda, Takshashila were there, there was no such barriers. These barriers were created later. And these silos were even strengthened later. And I would say that I really admire the intelligence of Macaulay, to be frank with you. He exactly pointed out what can destroy us, and they implemented it very well. Let's give credit to them. But today, Macaulay's grandchildren, they have become even more hukhar than own Macaulay. So that is the worry. And this division in education, which was created during the colonial period especially, and destroyed our knowledge systems. Rich knowledge systems were destroyed. I come from health sciences, so I can tell you that the tradition of Ayurveda, Yoga, Siddha, Unani, Soarippa were completely destroyed. Just one report from Bhore committee report overshadows even today more than 20 strong recommendations of high power committees in our own country. We have not been able to get out of those ideas and that impact on mindset. So I say that if this has happened because of education, it can also be corrected only through education. And therefore, I had hopes when I met Dr. Shobhit, and your chancellor is a good friend of mine. So you will find that the endorsement what he has given for the book is also very encouraging. I'm here. So in short, in earlier times, as I told you, for example, my work is on medicinal plants. One of the leading scientists in India who actually should be credited for discovery of reserpine, which is one of the top drug for blood pressure, even used today. It was discovered and launched by Siba Gaige at that time. But if you look at history, who actually invented it? It was Kaviraj Gananath Sen from Calcutta. So he was scientist, but scientists were known as Kaviraj. So this link between science and arts we destroyed in our country. And we started giving more hype to a particular discipline. So engineers and doctors would get more credit, more glamour in our society, and not the artists. I frankly would say that the film which you saw, I rate it better than even my own book, because what you can read in this 495 books, it tells you in just 10 minutes. This is the power of art. And so while in government, I used to always advocate that please don't underestimate this power. It's good that we are launching more and more IITs, AIMS, IIMs, NIPERs, and all kinds of institutions, but not a single institute in our own country which is dedicated to humanities. This is not good for our country. We creating right brain shrink community, which is not good for society. So this link we have to strengthen, and so I see hope in your university that one of that kadi, very strong, but will be from you. Thank you.
Thank you for that huge expectations that you have set on Rishihood. I mean, yes, the reason to set up Rishihood was also that what we observed that is lacking in academics, particularly higher education, that this false barriers that we have created, as well as training people in that sense, as you said that the Britishers have left us, but they have not left our minds. So it's called decolonization nowadays. But how do we do genuinely something which respects our heritage but also talks about the future? So when you were walking up the stairs to the library, you would have seen that we have a Rishihood way of learning. In that, one slogan is heritage before horizon. So we have to know our past before we try to shape the future. Otherwise, we are creating learners who have kind of discarded our past and then have only thought about the future because a sense of inferiority in them that we were always slaves and we never achieved anything. But you are a very rare person, Dr. Patwardhan, because you have delved into both. You have gone to traditional sciences and deep into that, as well as the modern sciences. And education today doesn't allow that in academics, right? Because it's very difficult to get traditional scholars into universities because of the credentials that we have created that you are qualified to teach if you are only having particular academic credentials. But a Kaviraj would not be made into a faculty in university
Absolutely.
system, and you have been an academic leader, have been a part of the regulatory agencies as well. So if you could tell us a bit about that how does policy enable to create more Rishihoods out there, because we don't want this to be a very unique effort in some corner, right? We don't want to be the fringe. How can Rishihoods become mainstream, and how does policy enable these sciences and arts to be merged, and how can we bring back that type of education system?
Yeah. No, thank you. Very good question. Actually, I had privilege of working closely with NEP 2020, and many of the thoughts, and Dr. Kasturi Rangan is my mentor. So I have been working not only during NEP, we have been working together for a very long time. And so you will see in the NEP, you will see reflections of all these thoughts. And uh, the Indian knowledge system means the name I was not very comfortable. I argued with the government also that we need to change this name because India and knowledge systems, India name came in just recently. Our knowledge systems go back. So this is Bharatiya Gyan Parampara. This is not Indian knowledge system. So this, right from that stage, but this process is slow. At the same time, we are looking at our own knowledge as history. When that knowledge is a source of innovation, is I'll tell you just one small idea of Prakriti, Vat, Pit, Kaph, from our own knowledge systems. Now it is multi-crore discipline. CSR alone funded it over 100 crores for this particular idea. And many universities are now working globally on this idea. Genetics, although we had advanced, we had no clue how to really differentiate or classify population, which Ayurveda used to do that. I mean, Ayurvedic Vaidya will give you medicine based on your Prakriti, based on the disease Prakriti, based on the season. It is customized for you. It is designed for you. It is now known as personalized medicine. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, particularly the focus on IKS has been very good, and that has been encouraging many academics to take up research areas. There's some grants that the government is giving to pursue that, and definitely exploring topics like this that you have mentioned in the book becomes easier, because so far in academics to touch those topics was seen to be like something that's a no-go area. But now there is more academics who are feeling confident of exploring that. So in your book, I was reading the description. You mentioned something like we have to move from the Anthropocene to the Omecene, right? So Anthropocene is the age of the humans and how we have shaped the geology of this planet. But Omecene is a very new term that you have coined. So if you could tell us a bit about what is this transition that you think the planet has to undergo, and why do you think that it is about time that it should happen?
Yeah, actually, when I was conceptualizing the book, the Anthropocene was not on horizon. We were living in Holocene as an epoch, and we were expecting that Anthropocene there is a lot of time. But in 2022, Nature, one of the top journals, published an article which showed actually that the human-made mass has now exceeded the biomass, and which is so alarming and so worried. So the total weight on this earth of say concrete and plastic and other things which humans have made has now exceeded plants, animals. So where are we heading? And if you see all over the world, this discussion is happening because of sustainable development goals. But I also know that these are more words, and it takes time to come actually in existence, because the first sustainable development word was used in Stockholm, followed by Rio, followed by now Paris. So earlier there were Millennium Development Goals. Now we have Sustainable Development Goals. And World Health Organization at Alma-Ata declaration said health for all by 2000. We recorrected it in 2000 again because we could not achieve. And in 2024 again WHO slogan is health for all. So we are completing the circle. We are going in circle. So who will guide the world? Where to go? That wisdom is there with us. It has to be uncovered. It has to be told to the world in the language in which they will understand. That was the purpose of this book. And this book is inspired by 3 or 4 major concepts or aphorisms from Veda, Upanishads, Gita, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and Swami Vivekananda. These are the inspirations behind this book. So for example, I was reading Ishavasya Upanishad when I was working in genomics. So Ishavasya Upanishad, Purna Mantra, which I told you, is a definition of genome. Because if you remove something from the genome, what you remove is also complete, what remains is also complete. And yesterday my wife Bhagyada was telling that same analogy is also for mother who is delivering a baby. Both are complete. Mother also remains complete, baby also remains complete. So this completeness is our own tradition, as against the Aristotelian logic based on which modern science developed is based on reductionism, which is also good. These part and whole relationships are important. If we only concentrate on parts, we lose the picture of whole. And that's what the mistake we are doing today. Our science has become extremely reductionist. So we know now in medicine, because I'm giving examples more related to health because I come from that discipline. So now doctors wouldn't know, the specialists wouldn't know other specialty. And we have lost the generalists, the family physicians who used to take care of our own families. We have lost them. So we know how we have now specialists, and specialists of right side, specialists of left side. They wouldn't know what are the connections. So this is not the way ahead. This is not the way forward. I was consultant to WHO, and now WHO has established a global center in India, on traditional medicine. That is because of all this work on the research work which underwent in India for quite some time. So the second aphorism this book is based on is Prajnanam Brahma. So the subtitle of this book is Evolving Journey of Modern Science to Meta Science. And what does it mean? This means that modern science today has reached to a stage where it needs to take a pause. It needs to look back. It needs to slow down. Because all these days, we have been using modern science mainly for our own greed, for our own ego, for our own comforts. And modern science has not really been used for people or for nature. And if we continue in this fashion, it's a unsustainable journey. We'll break somewhere. So this is a time to take a pause, and I thought that this book will be a small drop in creating that necessity to take a pause for modern medicine. So what modern medicine should do now? So we are saying in the book that modern medicine, which is based on, as a biochemist, I am also trained in the reductionist fashion. So until I read all this, I was also one amongst those thousands, or millions, who believe that what I can see, I will accept it as a proof. Modern science is based on that empirical evidence, and what is that? That is what we can actually see or measure with our senses, Gyanendriya. So what we can see, what we can hear, what we can measure, we think that that is true. What we cannot, we say it is not true or we don't know. Better scientists will tell we don't know. Most scientists will tell that's not true, which itself is unscientific. Because if we are not able to see, then we as scientists, we developed gadgets. So if we can't see with naked eyes, we develop microscopes or we develop binoculars. If we can't diagnose, then we develop pathology tests. If we can't see inside our body, we devised X-rays or MRIs now or specs or many other advanced equipment. But these are all extensions of our sense organs. But there is something beyond that West doesn't know today. They don't even accept presence of that. And what is that? That is consciousness.
Thank you, Dr. Bhushan, for sharing that. Very inspiring. I mean, the journey that you have taken and you have put this out in the book here, and this journey from modern science to meta science, the genome to Om, and how you have imagined Om scene to be. And you said it's a small and initial effort, but we would like to play a role in supporting this movement that you are trying to create. A lot of young faculty members here from varying backgrounds, from economics, sociology, health sciences. I can see computer science, many people here. So, what would be your advice to our young faculty members who are here, as well as the ones who would be watching this online, that how do they train themselves in their respective disciplines to be a part of this change that you're trying to create? Because academics, there's so many structures which are seen as barriers, and there's a lot of risks that we perceive when we take up this journey. So, what would be your advice to them? And some PhD scholars also are here. So, what would you tell them?
No, I am not that great person to give you advice. But I must tell you that we should have open mind. Our current system is closing our minds. Our education system, although our original pedagogy is based on questions. So in this book you will find that majority of the chapters have question marks. Who am I? This is a question mark. So this questioning, Upanishad is all based on questions. So somewhere we have lost that inquisitiveness, which is the basis of any education system. So we'll have to bring it back in our classroom. And we many a times, I must tell you that we underestimate the talent of students. And we also monopolize our teaching. As a teacher, I am telling you that we have monopolized our teaching. It may not happen in the institution like Rishihood, but by and large, in the university systems and in the college systems, we are spoon feeding them. We are burdening them with so much of data. They have no time to think. If you look at last month's Nature, there is an excellent article in Nature, and the title of the article is "Scientists Need Time to Think." But why scientists? Everybody needs time to think. We are not thinking today. So in this book, you will find one chapter on this. What is thinking and what is knowing? How to transcend from mere thinking to knowing. And I wouldn't call him friend, although we spent good time with him, Nobel laureate Brian Josephson. He is the youngest Nobel laureate who received Nobel Prize in Physics, and Josephson effect is taught in physics. Those who are coming from physics would know him. So we spent some time discussing this idea with him at Cambridge. His current project is on origin of thoughts. He is a quantum physicist. So you will see that top-notch scientists are opening their mind and hearts for these new ideas. So they are reading more Upanishad than us. So Brian Josephson can talk to you about Bharatiya Gyan Parampara more than many of us here. And not only Oppenheimer, but several such top-notch scientists, they are taking advantage of our. If you look at what is happening, most of the research on consciousness is happening in top universities outside, be it Cambridge or Harvard or Stanford. They are working on this. So we have to really gear up for opening new vistas, new frontiers from our own knowledge system, and regain that knowledge leadership which we used to have at one point of time. Today, I wouldn't criticize them. They are right in their own way, but we should go beyond. So, not only saying that we knew how to make aeroplanes, it is not enough. You have to use that data and show that, okay, we are using that data and we are building aeroplane. Or we have to really bring in many ideas from our own knowledge systems. And I can tell you that in every discipline, not only science, even in humanities, social sciences, art, you will find that there are ideas in our knowledge systems which the world doesn't know. So you will have the opportunity for leadership in your own discipline if you go by this. Today we are blindly following what is happening. So incrementally we are progressing. That is not enough. Incremental progression for us now, for India, when we are talking about we want to be a developed nation or 5 trillion or more economy, we can't go incrementally. There has to be a disruption coming in, and I can say that that disruption will come if we really look at our own knowledge resources more seriously, more curiously, and not getting trapped in what I would like to call it as a syndrome of self-pride and past glory. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Especially right outside this library, we have three graduate attributes, the attributes that we want people at Rishihood to have. The first one is jigyasa.
Okay.
And then you have exactly talked about that by saying that we need time to think, we need to ask questions, and the book is full of questions, is what you are saying. And we have lost that space, right? Even if nature is recognizing this, that we need more time to think. So that is one, we are teaching too much.